Hey, good morning. Welcome to Viking Preparedness. Probably should have done this beforehand. I am Pastor Joe Fox. There we go. Gonna talk to you this morning about a subject that, if my assessment of we Vikings is correct, is going to initially sound incredibly boring to a third of you. However, I'm going to try and make it interesting. And it is important, regardless. And that is, it's a subject of firearms. If you have to take guns into a zombie situation, you know, where this guy kind of looks like a zombie, doesn't he? He's a good guy, though. But if they're like, walking around, that's a metaphor, right? And you have to get from point A to point B, and you need to decide what firearms you're going to carry. What firearms should those be? And then we're going to go off on a little bit of a tangent there. It seems very popular in the prepper crowd to talk about firearms and accessories. And, you know, if this was a YouTube video and I put a picture of the firearms up, and it would get a lot of hits because people like that. If you go back into my blog, vikingpreparedness.blogspot.com, and I think if you just type in the search box, 10,000, I did an article on 10,000 rounds of ammo. People like guns because they're relatively easy to buy. They feel like they're powerful when they have one in their hand, and to many people it's like a magic wand. Many people collect firearms, so I've got one of these and two of these and three of these, and I have an FN, and dun 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 dun. But when it comes down to it, you can only carry so many firearms on you. I know guys, real guys, who carried a rifle or submachine gun and two handguns. I've known guys, I have at times carried a rifle, a handgun, and a shotgun. But those were for very particular purposes. Those weren't for, okay, we're going to walk from here to there for the next 8 days and then do something. No, you're not going to carry that stuff because it's heavy, right? Something else as a prepper that you need to think about, you're not a soldier. And you want to avoid fights. Right? Because when you're fighting, that means there's bullets coming at you too, and that's no bueno. But something we can take from soldiers, if you will, because we're fighting zombies here, right, is standardization. Everybody should pretty much be running in your group. You have a group, right? Everyone should be running the same platform. These little fantasies about, I'm going to have two guys with ARs and one guy with an AK. My point man's going to have a shotgun, and then I have a sniper bringing up the rear. That's ridiculous, and it is fantasy, and it's dumb. Okay? Try and standardize your people. Why? Because when you run out of ammo, or Bob or Sue runs out of ammo, and somebody tosses a magazine to him, you want that magazine to fit in whatever you're sticking it in, right? That's an important thing. When a gun goes down, it got shot right through the middle of it, it's broken. There's still a lot of parts and pieces on that firearm that we can use to repair other firearms if they're all the same kind of firearm. Does that make sense? So standardization is really important. I know everybody's got their favorite, and if you go buy the latest whatever, I don't buy gun magazines anymore, the latest gun magazine out there, there'll be some newer, better, greater thing, and everybody wants to buy it. Another problem with Americans, you've heard me say this over and over and over again, is people want to use money instead of time and sweat. And so they think, if I buy this gun and I put this on it and this on it and this on it and this on it and this on it, I'll be super ready, man. When really what you need to do is go shoot your gun, which is what we're going to go talk about here in a little bit later. But first and foremost, you need a handgun. You need a handgun on you all the time. If you're a woman, most especially you need a handgun. You need it more than a guy because you know what? I can fight. So the chances of me needing to go to lethal force are less than a woman who is looked upon as prey, especially in a world without rule of law. Books, magazine articles, YouTube videos out the wazoo have been written on what gun people should carry. This is a good gun for a 12-year-old girl. This is a good gun for a woman. This is a good for elderly people. I mean, whatever. People are trying to make a buck. Here on the land, I carry a Glock 21. It shoots 45 caliber bullets. I carry ball in it because they're cheap, and the things I shoot with my gun, it's fine. You know, you shoot an armadillo, a rampaging rabid skunk or something like that, I don't need to spend a whole lot of money on a bullet. But I carry over here on my side reloads, which are better. Those are for, bad times come. But that's not the gun I'm recommending. I'm not recommending you carry a Glock 21. What I'm recommending everybody get, and I think I got the idea for this video from TJ. I think TJ did a video and he touched on these things. So you're, in the mouth of 2 or 3, because I think he pretty much said the same things. A Glock 19. This is a Glock 19. It shoots 9mm bullets. It's small. It is pretty small. Women can shoot it. My 14-year-old daughter shot it. She's not 14 anymore, but she used to shoot her own Glock 19 when she was 14. It holds 15 rounds of goodness in it, and everybody in the world carries it. Most cops are carrying Glock 19s. Most military now are carrying Glock 19. Anywhere in the world. This is the firearm you want, because if yours goes down, you can get ammo or another replacement for it that'll run on your ammo that you're carrying, laying all over the place. Everybody's carrying Glock 19s. That's why you should carry one too. Another cool thing about a Glock 19, unlike a lot of firearms, is that it takes Glock 17 reloads. So this holds 15, this holds 17 rounds, and you can see this one's longer. See, it holds more, but it still fits in your Glock. It just hangs out the bottom. The reasons for that, technical, don't need to go into, but most weapons won't do that. And so if you've got a Glock 19 and that guy's got a Glock 17, you can take his magazines. If you have a Glock 17 and he throws you a Glock 19 magazine, it won't fit in. That's why I say go to Glock 19. And besides that, the reality is 15 rounds is all you're gonna need in any given encounter anyway, right? So the Glock 19, 9mm, I know there's less of those arguments anymore about 9mm versus 45. I used to make them all. I went to 9mm when my wife still carried a 45, blah, blah, blah. I don't want to bore you guys with that. Glock 19, you should have one. If you are in the market to get a firearm, get a Glock 19. Invariably, more so on YouTube, and probably would have happened on here until I make this comment. Everybody's got, oh yeah, and you need to put the special trigger in, and you need to put this overmolded grip on, and get these sights, and get a Glock 19, learn how to shoot it. You'll be fine. All right, so that's a handgun. The reason you have a handgun is to fight your way back to the rifle you shouldn't have set down in the first place. I believe Clint Smith said that. But it's a good point. You're not going to be carrying your rifle everywhere. It's kind of hard to dig potatoes, to snip lettuce and things like that with an AR hanging on your back. It's not impossible. Oh, and I gave it away. So let's just go to it. You need to get an AR-15. This is the M4 version, which just means it has a shorter barrel and a collapsible stock on it. Again, there's a bunch of different models that are made, and I call this thing Barbies for men, because you can put so many accessories on it. Don't worry about the accessories. Just get an M4. Palmetto Armory sells them relatively inexpensively. Almost any M4 you buy is going to work. Can you spend $1,500 on one? Heck yeah. Can you spend $500 on one? Mm-hmm. So get yourself an M4. Why? Because almost every cruiser patrol car out there on the highways, police, has an M4 in it. Almost everybody in our military is carrying an M4. Or if you want to get the longer one, you know, the AR-15, that's fine. The key thing is that they take the same magazines and the same ammo, and they have the same basic parts in it. You don't need optics. I've got optics on mine. You don't need all the gewgaws that I have on mine. You really don't. Just get an M4, make sure it's got sights on it, and go shoot the thing. Go learn how to shoot it. And again, this is a light gun. I shot my first M16 when I was 11 years old. And it was a full-size M16A1 because they had just come out in the military. It's a long story. But I shot one as an 11-year-old boy and did fine all over that target. Like a good shot group. I used to hang the target up in my bedroom. My kids have shot these since they were probably about 10 or 11 years old. It has very little recoil, so it's good for women who are generally of smaller stature than men. That's all. It's good for older people because, again, they don't kick a whole lot. So they're pretty easy to shoot. If you quit putting all the gewgaws on it, they're pretty light. You can make them heavy by putting a lot of things on, but you don't have to. M4, AR-15, you know, they call them different things, but this is the weapon you want. This will do everything you want it to do way out there to 300 yards, which is a lot further than you're probably going to have to shoot as a prepper at zombies when you got to do that. They're not that expensive, and you should have one. Everybody in your crew should have one. And again, that is so that you have commonality of parts and commonality of ammo and those kinds of things. If you want to have your SIG, whatever, your AK, blah, 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 that's fine as long as everybody in your group has it. But the thing about the M4s is everybody around you is going to have an M4. Everybody's got M4s now. The argument for M4s versus AK used to be pretty big in the 90s. It's pretty much dead now. Everybody's using them. I was just reading recently about Japan's self-defense force, their version of Delta. Carry anything they want. Carry M4s. Everybody carries them. You should have one too. Now let's switch gears. But first, I'm feeling a mite parched. Probably should have done this part first because some people have already checked out. I know that gun stuff is just like... Talking to somebody, a good friend of mine in Oregon yesterday, I said, hey, what is it about this Oregon law I keep hearing about? I heard about it from some of y'all, about where you can't have a magazine that holds more than 5 rounds. And my friend's got a 1911. That's an ancient gun that holds 7 rounds only. It's from 1911. I guess that would be illegal or something. And they said, yeah, it's going to pass. It's going to pass the legislature. You know, the governor wants to do it. It's going to pass the legislature because there's a bunch of Californians that have moved up the I-5 corridor into Oregon. And they're just going to have these outrageous gun laws. I said recently, and I don't want to turn this into a political thing, so please don't put political comments here about whether or not Trump's going to run, win, or whatever. But it's part of what I said that, whatever, talk about what you want. I think there's a good chance he won't win the election, and a Democrat will, a socialist, communist, Marxist. And when they get it, see, the Democrats aren't afraid to wield power. Republicans are, and that's when I'm being kind and putting them in different camps, and really they're in the same camp. I don't want to get political. I think there's a chance that we could see a democratic regime come into power and see the gun rights go away. Woof! Civil War, man! Yeah, you'll see that, people saying that. But before that happens, there's going to be draconian laws passed reference firearms. Your ability to possess, certainly your ability to shoot, your ability to carry, yada, yada, yada. It's a possibility. I'm not trying to do doomer porn here. This is what I'm telling you. You should go train with your firearms now, while you can. It amazes me the number of people I know who own rifles that haven't zeroed them. Why would you own a rifle that you haven't zeroed? And zero simply means, the way that my sights work for me when I look through them is different than they would work if I gave you this gun. So you have to make these little micro adjustments on your sights to make sure that when you get a sight picture and you pull the trigger, you're hitting what you're aiming at. And the same thing with your glass, whether it's a scope or a, whatever. You need to zero your weapon. That's basic 101. You shouldn't have a weapon in your house for more than a week that you haven't taken out and zeroed. So you should have a plan for that. Zero your weapon. But I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about training. Shooting zombies who want to cut your head off with a cleaver or shoot you with their gun, it is not like going to the range on a nice day. It's not raining, so we might as well go sitting under the roof on your nice stand and that's not it. What it also isn't is having your 12-pack of beer and your buds and you go out there and you're like, yeah, watch me bump fire, and make a noise. You got to hit what you aim at, and you have to aim at it from a position that you're not going to get killed while you're doing it. That means laying on the ground, behind trees, shooting around cover. All these things you need to get good at. And you need to practice that stuff now while you can. Either get with somebody who knows how to do this stuff and have them teach you, and then you continue to practice and practice and practice, or pay out really good money and go to some schools and learn how to fight with the fighting guns that you bought. If you are blessed to have served in the military, most especially in combat arms, and you have all the basics. You got it. Just go zero your gun and every now and then practice with it, and you'll be okay. But the number of urban and suburban people who go out there and buy guns, and what they're all excited about and impressed with themselves about is, I got the Vortec flash suppressor, or I got this, blah, 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 all this stuff they have on their gun. It's like, dude, let's go. Let's go run through the woods. Let's run down this city block and get in a gun battle. How are you going to do? Oh, you can't run because you're fat. Sorry. It's a reality. Fighting is real. Fighting zombies is going to be real. There's a whole package that comes into it. And so my point is, it's going to be really easy to pass laws that make it almost impossible for you to go out and shoot your guns and train. You'll be behind the power curve at that point. Train now while you can. Take advantage of the opportunity to get out there now. It's a great way to meet people for your prepper group. Talk to people. When you find out they have an AR, say, when was the last time you shot it? Let's go shoot. If you go to a place with a range where you're sitting at the little table going ding, 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 say, hey, we ought to practice some other stuff, and just start working it that way. But get out there, train with your firearms, pop some caps, make some noise. Do it in an intelligent way. If you guys are interested, I can give you some training drills that you're not wasting money on, because I see that a lot too on YouTube, where people just go out to the range and they're just making noise and blowing money down range. And it's like, okay, you got more money than me to do that, and you're wasting your time. Train hard while you can. I fear you may have to do it. Recap. Get yourself a Glock 19. Get yourself an M4. I suggest you have one for everyone 11 years old and older. If you have grandkids, little 2 and 3-year-olds, start thinking about buying them theirs to give to them at a certain point in their life. If you have the money to do so. A legacy for your family. We may see zombies someday. You may thank me for this advice. I hope it never comes to that. All right, get out there and train. I'll see you out there.